Can Pure help introverts thrive in project leadership roles?
Oh, certainly. Sorry, that question to me, it's not a silly question, but it's a good question, because we think of project managers as you have to be extroverted and this big personality, because the project manager is a person out there leading from the front. Of course, it can help introverts. There's skill sets in here, and I'm looking at the list. Negotiating with confidence. That can be a hard skill for someone who is more comfortable, on their own, working by themselves or recharging, not in a group of people. There's others in here. Prioritization, like that can be a challenging skill I could see for an introvert. I tend to fall somewhere in the middle, because that requires you to go talk to different folks. And how we express ourselves in the workplace, whether we're introvert, extrovert, ambivert, whatever the other term is, can benefit from this. It may look different, excuse me, for me being in the middle versus someone who's super extroverted versus a super introvert. But many of these skills we can apply regardless of how comfortable we are with groups or how we express ourselves in that way. Building with creativity was one that helped out, which is thinking through problem solving. But again, how I express that as an introvert might look different, but it can still be very beneficial, and we can still be excellent project managers, even if we feel different. Then I'll pick on Russ. Maybe he's a super extroverted, gregarious personality. Even if I'm more introverted, I still get a lot of benefit from all of these courses. It might just look different, and that's not good, bad, or otherwise. But each of these tools can be used and applied by anyone, honestly. That's why I'm kind of struggling with the question, because to me, it's almost a non-question. For me, it's so obvious that it's beneficial.
No, I thought it was an interesting question, so I left it in, but I think you've sort of teased at the soundbite I wanted to put on this. Introvert, extrovert, ambivert, there's no value judgment in any of those. None of them are necessarily better than the other. You're just gifted with different things. And I talk a lot about leveraging your project management style. Your personality style is going to lean into that. If you're an introvert, you'll get things an extrovert won't get, and vice versa. There's no hard and fast rule that extroverts are naturally better project managers.
Not at all. And your comment around each of them brings a different strength and thing to it. Even in my personal life, my wife is very introverted, but she's able to connect with one of our kids and help him express himself artistically. I can't do that because I don't have that way of thinking. I don't have that skill set, that strength, and she does. And that's just a simple example. But to your point, like any working style brings its strengths, and understanding what yours is the important bit.
Yeah. Russ, I'll come over to you with the same question. So can Pure help introverts thrive in project leadership roles?
Yeah, I mean, to go with what Rob was saying, I think introvert, extrovert, me personally, I like to call myself an introverted, like extrovert. Like I like being by myself and working, but I can be social when I need to be, type deal. But just go into the Pure course, just go into the one on the personality typing tools, and knowing those personality types amongst your team. I think if you're introverted, you're extrovert, like if you understand what gets your team going, what personality traits your individuals have, I think that right there will help you out tremendously when working with people, who you have to be a little more direct with, who you don't have to be direct with, where they need to be a little more open, and giving them less direction actually gets them moving in the right, moving faster. Whereas this individual, you have to give them a little more, but they still get a lot of work done. So you got to understand who you're working with. And I think it doesn't matter what spectrum you are taking these courses, you're going to learn something that's going to allow you to work with other people.
Yeah. I even talk a lot now about the difference between like synchronous in-person meetings and asynchronous, where we're just checking on virtual whiteboards. Like you can tailor those to as you've talked about, the profile or the spread of who's on your team, and use the appropriate tool for the job at hand. Again, like we talked about, it's not about coming from a playbook and thinking, okay, our retrospectives need to be in person on sticky notes that we're writing in the same room. We should tailor that and adjust it to the style, the team, the organization, the job that we're trying to do.
Yeah, different teams have different ways of working together. Leaning on what worked in the past isn't always going to help you out with that current team.
Yeah, I can imagine some of your teams in the Marines are slightly different from your teams in your technology projects, for example.
Yeah, that is true. It's a different world, but it's still the same thing. You still got to work with people, keep them engaged. You still got to understand what they can and cannot do, and make sure the right people are assigned to the right tasks. So the nature of it's still the same.
Yeah, people are people.
Yeah.